So last night, my son and I decided that we were going to try to batch clear. I found a ton of affirmations across the webs, across the internet, and I compiled it. It took a while. Compiled it all into a nice big fat Excel sheet. And then I number sequenced the Excel sheet belief statements and plugged them all into the spreadsheet. And initially, I was just going to do it in the smaller batches, so maybe 100, maybe 500 at a time, which to me I thought, geez, that's a lot. But we knew for sure that we had done that before successfully. And so my son, my kids, they're really open and into a lot of this stuff. They enjoy it. My daughter loves to do Reiki. My son, he really enjoys the clearing stuff. So, and he's really good at it. And so he walked over, and I told him, I said I was going to teach him the batch clearing, where you make your list. You make a list about any topic that you want, and kind of identify the belief statements that you want to have, or the belief statements you want to test for to see if you have beliefs that you don't want to keep. And you can do that by researching the topic. It goes back to the identify and the what's it on? I'm trying to think. No, sorry. I haven't had my coffee yet. So we go back to that concept where we're identifying, okay, this is probably a topic that I need to cover, and then using the know feature, basically you're learning about it and you want to know about it. And so you go out and you go to the internet and you look it up, and or you try and take some time and compile a list of questions or statements that you want to ask yourself. And when I say question, I mean a statement. So if you want to know whether you feel loved by your family, you would say, I feel loved by my family. Or I feel supported by my family. And you would make statements like that. And so you would take that, the first two topics there, of identifying what the issue is that you're trying to do, and then identifying what you believe your beliefs are, or how you are in this area, and taking as healthy a look as it as you can from a neutral perspective, and identifying what you believe about yourself and with respects to that topic. And then you go out and you identify, and you get to the knowing component. So then you make this huge list, and you get as many statements as you can, and then you would clear for it in one fell swoop, literally, all at once. So, and I know that some people think that's not a healthy thing to do, but here's the thing. When you add in the quantum mechanics, and you use the grounding cords, and you combine these features, and then you add in the heart center, you're able to do this pretty easily and with very, very low effect. So I've really seen very little, sometimes there'll be an emotional release. People will tear up or they'll cry. Sometimes they'll feel lighter. They'll feel maybe tired, maybe a little bit foggy for a few until everything settles. But using that method, I haven't had the weight gain. I haven't had the healing crisis. I haven't had the things that would typically go with clearing out too many things at once. We rope in the higher self, and we rope in the divine heart in your heart center, that brain center, and the quantum energy, which makes all things possible, so that you're able to kind of run a flow into the ground for excess energy, or energy that's not serving your highest good. So when you add all these different elements, and then you add in the hypnotic tool, which was used by remote viewers, where they use a code in a sense. So they have a code to reference what the remote viewers wouldn't know any more detail other than what the code is. And whoever was keeping the codes, they knew all the details about what it is that the people they were assigning to remote view that code would know about. And I know that sounds confusing, so I'll try and explain it a little better. So if they were trying to remote view something, let's say in Iran, they would know what the coordinates were and what the details were, and they would have a lot more details of what it is they were looking for, or what it is they were trying to identify. That would be the person that would assign it a code, in some cases coordinates. I think there was coordinates, but I remember there was a code. So anyway, they would use the code, they would hand that code, maybe on a piece of paper, to the person that they wanted to remote view. That person would then close their eyes and focus on, well, there's a lot more to it than that, but they would close their eyes and focus on remote viewing that location. That's the really very bare basic bones of what they do, or one of the method that they used. So this is very similar. So we assign numbers to every belief statement, and then what we do is we scan the whole list with our eyes, or we read it. I mean, if it's not a long list, you can do a pre-check with your fingers or standing test or whatever for a muscle test. You can test the before and after, but with a huge laundry list like we did, that to sit down and test. I mean, I think we had 10,683, I think was the number, different statements. And so to be able to check that many things, that would just take forever. You could do it, and it would be really cool because then you would know what you were starting with and where you ended up. So in a way, that would be neat. You could also spot check just randomly, maybe one every a couple hundred or so, and see, get a couple that are negative, and that way you can go back and check and see if those cleared, just to give you an idea that things have shifted. It's a little bit more tangible. And so with this big batch clearing thing, it wasn't my intention to clear that many at once, and my son just basically decided he was just going to do it all at once, and I told him, I said, I don't know about that. And he's like, it'll be fine. And he said his heart felt like it was going really fast, kind of doing double time, working through it all, but and he felt really energized, but he was laughing and he felt fine. And he said that shouldn't be possible. He was in total disbelief. And then we went through that sheet and just did random spot checks, things that we knew that he would be negative for, and they were reset. So it's really cool. It's just mind-blowing to know that this can work this way, to be able to identify these and then use the T8 model, which just combines a bunch of different things. And the reason that I was mentioning the remote viewing is because what you're doing is you scan all those pages with your eyes, so that your eyes know exactly which numbers what, and it goes through and it identifies all the things that are on this sheet, and you can then just clear for everything that's on the sheet. And there's qualifiers. You would want to qualify it that you're only going to clear or install the things that are in alignment with your highest good and higher self. That way, nothing gets plugged in there that is not going to work out for you. But I think it's interesting because when you do the question at first, is I have things on this list between 1 and whatever, ours was 10,683, I think I said, that need to be cleared or installed, and the answer was yes or no. And so at the beginning yes, and then afterwards no. And so there is something to be said for, if you go back through it, it is possible to have a couple things that but look at them that didn't clear, I should say, or get installed. And but keep in mind that I would follow that up with this statement is in alignment with my highest good or higher self, and that if that comes back as no, then don't bother with that statement, because that's not going to be needed for you. So I just think it was fascinating, and he bounced around. He was making me laugh so hard afterwards, and but really he was just like, that shouldn't be possible. He was just blown away. But this kid, what's so cool about him is he just loves computers, and the concept of the mind being a computer to him was just like, that makes sense, and he was just blown away by it. So he loves that. My daughter's really more into the spiritual component, but he just loves this whole thing, and I really wasn't sure about clearing so much at once. But we did 400 something the first pass. We did another 200 in another stop, and it was, you know, I mean, it can be a little dizzying, and it's also important to know that we do have connections to our other family members, and it's been thought that it's possible for that to transfer, and it can affect them also, so just keep that in mind. My mom was feeling kind of crummy this morning, and I thought, I wonder if I wonder if she caught some of the tail end of this, but because they're not doing the so if you are going to do it, it might be wise to just visualize your family members also having a grounding cord so that they don't catch anything, any of that release without having the proper disposal of that excess energy and all those negative releasing energies. And you want to use the quantum mechanics to get that to go, the quantum energy, to get that to be disposed of safely. So it's good to just maybe we'll add a statement for that saying I am connecting this to all of my family members, and allowing for the grounding cord to, you know, also attach to that and drain that energy down to release it. It's something I think I'm going to probably build in, because that's what's so great about the quantum energy is you really can set your intention and just give it very clear, understand the instructions so that it can do what you're asking it to do. But that potentiality, it's phenomenal. And then when you combine it with using the heart and brain in conjunction with that, and using the heart to actually be the one to make that shift. And you know, it kind of falls in alignment with some of the classes that I've been in where we use the heart to shift. In a lot of ways, we used our heart to shift. And so it's not really too far off the beaten path of that. It's just a little bit more direct because we're literally creating a circuit between the brain and the heart space, and then getting the stuff we need from the quantum, through the quantum cords, and we're getting the information from divine mind or source or the morphic field or wherever it needs to obtain that information. But it's all really deliberate, and there's protocols, and to keep it simple, because it was such a mouthful to have people run through it every single time, it's like I've dropped it down to protocols 1, 2, and 3, so that way they can just go through that whole process and they don't have to say 16,000 sentences to get it done. It makes it a lot faster, and I think it's so far been pretty outstanding. I'm really excited. I mean, who clears 10,000, almost 11,000 belief systems in a week? Nobody. I don't know anybody. Maybe it's possible, but you know, a friend of mine said, "Gosh, it's like reformatting your brain," and it's totally right. It's completely accurate. That's exactly what it felt like, and this morning that's what it felt like. So I feel a little bit disoriented. Safe to drive, but I feel a little disoriented and mostly just a little bit spacey. Everything's just got to resettle in and kind of get reassimilated. So, but yeah, lots of energy pulses through the body. Lots of feel a lot of electrical energy in the system. It's definitely cool. Definitely cool.